So what does Kakarot bring to Starknet with this specific setup? It brings the ability to use wallets that are standardized for Ethereum. It allows people to use apps that are targeted for Ethereum, and it allows just overall more interoperability between Starknet and all the ecosystem of Ethereum-like chains. So when you say Ethereum-like chains, what do you mean? You mean cars, blockchain cars that have the same engine as Ethereum. So you have to think Arbitrum, Optimism, Base, all these chains are Ethereum equivalent. And so with the help of Kakarot, Starknet becomes more compatible with the Ethereum equivalent ecosystem.
None of the information in this podcast constitutes investment advice or an offer, recommendation, or solicitation by Wagmi Ventures or any of its affiliates to buy or sell any securities. What's up, everyone? Benga here with Wagmi Ventures podcast. On today's episode, we have Elias Tazartes, co-founder of Kakarot, a zero-knowledge Ethereum virtual machine written in Cairo, aiming to allow users to leverage the scaling benefits of Validity rollups while maintaining compatibility with the Ethereum ecosystem. For anyone who is new, this is the Wagmi Ventures podcast, where we do snapshots with interesting builders and founders across crypto and AI. Check out wagmiventures.io to learn more about the syndicate behind the podcast. As always, folks, thank you for joining and listening in. Let's jump into our conversation with Elias. Hey, dude, what's up? Welcome to the show.
What's up? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, 100%. Let's begin with your crypto journey, man. How did it all start?
I think it takes me back to 2019 when I was in my last years of uni, and I had a few elements that kind of got me in. The first one was when I was in Singapore for an exchange. I started in France, but I went to Singapore for an exchange. One of my friends was a Bitcoin maxi, and he tried to get me into Bitcoin. That was the first touch point. A second touch point was that my brother is a crypto lawyer, actually one of the first in France. And he pilled me when he told me about SoRare and a few other French crypto companies back in 2020. And finally, I just enjoyed dev, and I enjoy, I think, new stuff like a kid. So when I saw that crypto was brand new and that everything was to be built, I wanted to jump right in.
Yeah, sounds exciting. Yeah, France, or maybe more Paris, has been a hotbed of really top crypto startups. And it's amazing to see what you guys are doing with Kakarot, which we're going to jump into. But before we do that, we just want you to sort of help us and our audience, in your own words, tell us, what is Starknet? What is Kakarot? What is Cairo VM? And why is Kakarot built on Starknet?
Okay, that's a nice, yeah. I mean, we can start by Starknet. So Starknet is a network. It's a blockchain. It's what we call a layer 2, a roll-up. And it is, I would say, a network that is directly linked to Ethereum, the blockchain. And its goal is to increase the scalability of Ethereum. So Ethereum is we have to see as, I don't know, the mother, not the mother nation, but the mother ship. I don't know. It's a shared space to settle transactions that is extremely decentralized and has high security, but has low throughput. So Ethereum's you cannot have the 65,000 transactions per second that Visa and MasterCard have. On Ethereum, you have way less. And that prompts the necessity to have side networks that are made for speed and cheap transactions. So I don't know if that's a sufficient kind of dive into why we have what we call roll-ups, but we really have to see them as batchers, or like places where you have a lot of speed and low prices. So Starknet is one kind of those, and it's specifically built with security in mind and security based on math. So it is what we call a validity rollup, also known as ZK rollup. And the way they get security is with math. So they say that every single transaction that goes through Starknet is proven. We use the word provable, proven, as well as verifiable, as well as ZK proven. And I mean, we don't have to go into the details, but it is one way to build a rollup. You have to think it as you run maybe a few thousand transactions off-chain. And by off-chain, you mean outside of Ethereum L1, so the base layer, the mothership. And then every once in a while, you checkpoint on Ethereum. And the way you checkpoint is actually you use ZK, this new technology, to prove mathematically that all the thousands of transactions that you have executed on Starknet have been executed with integrity. And so by doing this checkpoint, you generate a certificate, and the certificate is extremely small. So you acquire what we call compression, and you have to see it as a zip. I don't know. And this zip, you are going to checkpoint on Ethereum. So Starknet is of the class of rollups, and rollups achieve compression and help Ethereum scale as an alternative financial base layer. So that's for Starknet. Should I pause and ask if this was clear for anyone who is not too deep into crypto?
Yeah, I think you're doing such a beautiful job unpacking it. Yeah, let's hold there. We just want to make sure we're carrying full audience along. I think you did a good job there. And then we can sort of move into Kakarot and Cairo VM.
Okay. So what is Kakarot? Kakarot is, from first principle, really bare bones, what is Kakarot? It is an implementation of the EVM, the Ethereum virtual machine, that is provable. That is really the one single thing, the essence of Kakarot. So what is the EVM? It is the engine that powers Ethereum as this kind of a shared computer. So Ethereum is a blockchain, and a blockchain has a VM. A blockchain is a car, and it has an engine. And then this engine allows anyone to create applications on it. So this is this concept that a VM allows smart contracts to live and be executed. So you really have to see it as a runtime. I don't know, saying it's not so far from saying iPhone has iOS, so Ethereum has EVM. And Kakarot is one implementation of this engine, but that is provable. So what does it mean? A ZK EVM, a provable EVM, it means that every transaction that you send through can be compressed, can be used by a rollup. So this is really what Kakarot is. So it is a runtime. It is an environment where you can send transactions that are formatted or compatible with Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
And then as a result of those transactions, you can batch them up 1,000 per 1,000, millions per millions, and settle them wherever you want at a fraction of the normal cost you should pay if you weren't using a provable setup.
Got it. And all this is being done on the Cairo virtual machine, which is the layer on Starknet that you use to connect Kakarot users to the Ethereum L2, right?
Yeah, so this is where it gets a bit technical. It doesn't have to get too technical, but so Ethereum is a blockchain. It is powered by the engine that is the EVM, and then Starknet is a blockchain, and it is powered by the engine that is the Cairo VM. And Ethereum is the base layer, and Starknet is a rollup. And so it executes transaction and checkpoints them on Ethereum. That's for how it's going. And then where does Kakarot fit into all this? Well, Kakarot on Starknet as a protocol, it actually allows Starknet to be used by user as if it was Ethereum. So, Kakarot is very versatile, but if we only take into account the protocol as it is on Starknet, it allows Starknet to behave as if it were Ethereum. So it's not so far from saying if Ethereum is iPhone and then Starknet is Android, because Starknet is not compatible with Ethereum. The Cairo VM is completely different from the EVM. So if you were to say Ethereum is iPhone and Starknet is Android, Kakarot emulates iPhone on Android. So what does Kakarot bring to Starknet with this specific setup? It brings the ability to use wallets that are standardized for Ethereum. It allows people to use apps that are targeted for Ethereum, and it allows just overall more interoperability between Starknet and all the ecosystem of Ethereum-like chains. So when you say Ethereum-like chains, what do you mean? You mean cars, blockchain cars that have the same engine as Ethereum. So you have to think Arbitrum, Optimism, Base, all these chains are Ethereum equivalent. And so with the help of Kakarot, Starknet becomes more compatible with the Ethereum equivalent ecosystem.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. I love the analogies that you use because that's all very helpful in understanding what Kakarot brings to the field. But just a little bit more on the innovation that you guys have built. If you could just touch a little bit on the architectural components of Kakarot, just high level, that would also be helpful.
Yeah, sure. I guess, I mean, when I started, when I heard the word, like everyone was using the word VM. So when you're in blockchain for a while, it almost becomes a marketing tool. And you get, for example, alt VM craze. This is the marketing word that is used to talk about any VM that is not the EVM, because the EVM is the standard. For example, more than 95% of all stable coins live on EVM chains. There is 10 times more TVL locked, so total value locked inside VM targeted smart contracts, so Solidity smart contracts, than any other engine. And so EVM is the standard, and anything that isn't EVM is exotic to some extent. And then, of course, Solana is less and less exotic because it is seeing a lot of adoption, and maybe Caro as well, and other VMs such as Move and Sway. So what did we do? I mean, a VM is nothing else than an engine, and an engine has a blueprint. So the Ethereum virtual machine actually has a blueprint that was invented by the Ethereum Foundation and inventors of the EVM. And it's a specification of a computer that has 100 and maybe 50 operations that it's allowed to do. It has a few things that you need to write, and you need to pass a specification test. So in terms of technical I wouldn't say prowess, but just technical things that we had to do to call ourselves an EVM was to implement this blueprint in Cairo, which is a programming language for Starknet, and that allows the user of Cairo to generate ZK proofs of their compute. So we had to implement this blueprint in Cairo. So that's the checkbox we had to cross. And then in terms of innovative architecture, what's nice is that by doing this, we're actually not starting a roll-up. I would say even 2024 has been the year of roll-ups. So when I started 2 years ago, there were 3 roll-ups, I think 3-4 roll-ups when I started crypto in 2020. Not even. Yeah, there was Starknet, ZK Sync, and then Arbitrum maybe, and maybe Optimism. So there were 4 roll-ups, maybe 5. And now today there's going to be 200 at the end of the year. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And so we didn't want to start a roll-up. We wanted to serve the roll-up centric roadmap of Ethereum. We wanted to serve the existing roll-ups. So how did we do it? We wrote our EVM as a portable engine, even like a sub-engine, which means that now Kakarot doesn't have to be its own roll-up. It's directly embedded inside Starknet to act as this kind of EVM engine, EVM runtime inside the Starknet roll-up. So that's in terms of architecture. It means that when you are an EVM user and you come to Kakarot, the protocol, so Kakarot the protocol, because Kakarot the protocol on Starknet, you are interacting with what seems to be Ethereum. Like you are interacting with the wallet that you usually use on the same address, the same domains, etc., the same smart contracts, Uniswap-like, and so on. But under the hood, what you're not seeing is some kind of interpreter, and all the activity you're doing is actually happening on Starknet. So that's the technical progress we had to do. It's lots of interop and lots of, I would say, under the hood magic that one completely doesn't add any trust assumption. Like none of it adds any trust assumption or risk, and fully preserves like sovereignty of user, but as well as maximizes UX. So in terms of architecture, everything you do is Ethereum-like, but under the hood, everything happens on Starknet. So I think that's pretty fun.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Hey, everybody. Quick thing here. We're excited to announce WAGMI Advisory, your home for all things fundraising, hiring, and partnerships. This is all about supercharging your project with the WAGMI network, consisting of over 20,000 executives, investors, and builders in crypto, all ready to come alongside your project to help it succeed. Get in touch at team@wagmiventures.io to learn more and figure out if WAGMI Advisory is the right fit for your project. Let's get back to the show. I'm going to double click on a comment you made there on the relationship between Kakarot and Starknet, because I The way I understand it is that Kakarot is the main EVM protocol in the StarkNet ecosystem, which therefore makes it instrumental to the development and scaling of StarkNet. I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
I guess, yeah, I think you're right. So StarkNet is a non-EVM ecosystem, and we are like I would say, the only protocol that is aimed at really full EVM, all things EVM, like compatibility with the smart contract language, compatibility with the tools like Foundry, MetaMask, Hardhat, all the tools that EVM people know, we have and we aim to be compatible with them. And then, so yeah, we are the EVM actor, the EVM arm of StarkNet. And I think that's instrumental for at least 2 or 3 reasons. One is there are a lot of users that are finally I don't know, blockchain is very confusing, and there aren't that many users that know how to use blockchain without falling into foot guns, or even myself. I think I'm pretty bad at I mean, I don't know. But what I noticed is whenever I have to download a new wallet or whenever I get to a new ecosystem, I'm lost once more. And it took me so long to not be lost in the Ethereum ecosystem. So what we bring is the ease of the maturity of EVM, like the network effects, the shared accumulated knowledge that we have developed as a community for the past 10 years now on Ethereum, that is not so, I would say, more not so mature on new ecosystems. So that's nice for the development of StarkNet, but we're also helping them attract new builders and users in like more very simple terms. Like more users can now use StarkNet because they can use the wallets they use on a day-to-day basis. And then when it comes to builders, more builders can just deploy to StarkNet because they can now use Kakarot, which that is the main programming language for StarkNet. And now on top of it, they can use Solidity, which is the more known smart contract language in the crypto sphere.
Got it. Yeah, thank you. I think you also helped answer like my question around what the value prop is and what it means for developers and users. I think even from a developer's perspective, when I look at Kakarot, why would I choose your platform over other ZK EVMs out there like ZK Sync, Scroll? How is Kakarot better?
That's a great question. The competition between EVMs is pretty fierce. So the value prop in between EVMs is extremely hard. I think somehow being exotic, StarkNet has a few advantages, which is they don't have to compete for mindshare between EVM builders. I think what's nice about Kakarot on StarkNet is that people will come, like builders or users, because they are attracted to the StarkNet vibe, which is a bit different. And they aren't necessarily looking for the next EVM chain to build on. We are trying to attract hybrid builders who are both very interested in existing EVM infra, but are also very passionate about all things ZK, all things cryptography, all things innovation in the land of product design as well as infra. So StarkNet has been trying, for example, to push the innovation on the land of account abstraction on like UX. Like they were one of the first chains to go for this one-click experiences. So they have this idea that you can have a native multi-call, which is quite like it works really well. So I don't know if you try to trade on a few dexes in EVM, but there is this famous approach where you have to first approve, then trade. So you have 2 clicks UXs. And then on StarkNet and a few other chains, you have a one-click UX, which is based on like being able to batch actions in a single click. So StarkNet I'm using this example to say that StarkNet has been a land for innovation and tinkering and hackers and builders to come together and push the limits of what can be done. So in that sense, I would say that Kakarot opens the door to StarkNet, and then also opens the door to the incredible tech that Starkware as a cryptography provider, like inventors of Stark, and also always pushing the boundaries of cryptography and modern days, verifiability and security. So it's also enabling the EVM space to tap into this power. If you look at the latest articles from Vitalik's blog, he talks about new generations of provers. And provers are the software that generates these ZK proofs that I mentioned that enables more scalability for overall blockchain infrastructure. This ability to do a times 100, times 1,000 on what throughput you're able to do at cheap price. And whenever he talks about bleeding edge of technology and cryptography, he names Stackware, who are always pushing the limits of what you can do. So I think it's somehow symbiosis between Kakarot and Starknet and between EVM world and like ZK world. So I think this is what people would look for. Otherwise, Base or Optimism are pretty good like contenders because they have such high TVL or they have such high hype with regards to the superchain or Coinbase. So the competition is fierce when it comes to pure marketing. So I think we have to have this other differentiator, this je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, it makes a lot of sense there. And yeah, I know Vitalik is a huge fan of Starknet, but also of Kakarot, and has been pretty bullish on what you guys are building. So yeah, definitely congrats there. Congrats
actually,
also.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say congrats also because I know you had your testnet release earlier this year, but I'll let you finish your thought there.
No, I just wanted to say that actually Vitalik had an idea like I think more than 1 year ago or 1 year and a half ago when we started the project, even I think a bit before. So because Shar Papini, the co-inventor of Cairo, actually had the idea for Kakarot. And it was co-started, co-accelerated by Starkware back like almost 2 years ago, which takes us back. and Vitalik very early saw the very long-term promise of Kakarot as being a provable EVM because he said technically you could even use Kakarot on Ethereum base layer because a provable EVM applies to any EVM chain. And I think that was pretty visionary, seeing that today there's lots of players going into this idea that now any single EVM network, really any like Ethereum base layer, I don't know, Base, Optimism, Berachain, literally any EVM chain gains to be provable, verifiable, like to use ZK proofs. Like, there is no downside to use ZK proofs. There is only upsides with regards to costs and speed and throughput.
Wow, that's fascinating. I mean, and when you look at the broader ecosystem, what do you think the vision looks like in how you're building Kakarot and being that layer or that door to Starknet?
So the long-term vision you're saying, or specifically towards Starknet?
I think maybe both. And if it's easier, maybe just to, and if it's easier to summarize, maybe we could just talk about it from like a roadmap view and what you guys are planning 2025 beyond and anything that is exciting or noteworthy.
Okay. I can start by Starknet, which is our very immediate milestone, which we're so proud of, is like our going to production. I think this production is really such a strong challenge and it's really beautiful. Is going from a great idea, a great human organization, which is already hard to scale and build a human organization. I mean, I don't have to tell you this because you've been head of teams for a while now. So you know how hard it is to scale a human organization. But the main difference is always the impact. So when you're in production, when you're in mainnet, even though crypto is still not seeing the same levels of adoption as Visa or MasterCard as a financial system, you're still very happy to be like, I don't know, it's a real feat. You've done something. It's an achievement to be in prod running. So I'm excited to this and I'm so bullish about Starknet, whether it is the community of people like humans I've met and who we are building alongside with for the past year and the network. So I'm excited for our deployment on production in December as a protocol. It's going to be so fun. And I'm also so excited for the vision in the next years because we didn't realize, but because we knew for a long time, but we realized we could do it as a team of 15. We could actually like scale quite fast in terms of vision and ambition. And actually in 2025, what we're excited to do is propose our like provable EVM, actually, as I said, to all EVM chains. Like the vision is really, I think that's what we told Vitalik when we started, is the point is really that in 2 or 3, 4 years, we said initially 5, but maybe it could be faster, like maybe in 2 years. The goal is that we can even we can ZK prove. The other verb that Vitalik sometimes uses is snarkify or starkify, because it is the name, is the denomination of the ZK proofs. So we could Starkify Ethereum L1. I think that's the vision, is really there are billions or maybe millions. I think maybe a few billions blocks. So blocks are a few trillion transactions of blockchain every year. And we're excited that we can actually be a provider of ZK proofs for those. So we're starting with Starknet, but what's nice is that there is no reason that with the exact same expertise and code, we can't expand to Ethereum L1, all L2s, etc. So we're very excited for this as well, because this is not like spreading ourselves thin. It's actually realizing our initial vision. And I think this is going to be the color of 2025, is acing and like really succeeding in being a protocol on Starknet, and then expanding and prove all EVM transactions using our provable EVM. So it's really accelerating ZK in the land of Ethereum. That's really our mission.
Yeah, I think that's pretty exciting, even the roadmap. And I think about like how folks can participate in that and be part of that. Like, how can developers start using Kakarot, and what's the process like today, or even production go live in December?
Nice. I mean, today we're on testnet, so on Starknet Sepolia. So it's really as easy as changing the network on their MetaMask to Kakarot, which soon will, I mean, right now it's called Kakarot Starknet because we are an EVM protocol on Starknet. So we don't want to confuse people thinking they're on a new chain. They're actually on the EVM compatibility module of Starknet. So it's as easy as going to our docs or our faucet, I think this, or joining our Discord. Maybe that's the easier one. So I think it's discord./Kakarot CKEVM. But the easier one is to go to our docs. I think it's docs.kakarot.org, and then join the Discord or join the Telegram. I'm always just one DM away. Like really, I try to engage on the Discord and Telegram, mostly because now I'm focusing on the product. Our team is really fun. We're really focusing on one thing at a time. And now I'm acting CPO. So I'm really focusing that, making sure that everyone has a good time on the testnet, everyone has a good time on the mainnet. And the real goal is we want to ship something that has value for people and that people use and say, okay, they're doing work, they're not trolling, they really think that this is serious and they want to take Ethereum to the next level.
Yeah, 100% agree. And like being able to be as responsive as possible to your growing community, I think goes a long way for the adoption. I was also going to say, I think Kakarot sounds a lot better when it's pronounced in French. But I'll definitely learn. And so one last question before I let you go today is, we've talked a lot about ZK Zing and Kakarot and the Ethereum ecosystem in Starknet. Outside of all of this, what else excites you in crypto?
That's hard. I mean, no, I mean, it's not hard. I try to expand. So I am passionate about Ethereum mostly and ZK. So I am somewhat of an Ethereum maxi, but I know that it is not good. I need to diversify. So in the past quarter, I've been very interested in Bitcoin. So I've read on Bitcoin. I've also gone to conferences and I've talked to players in the Bitcoin ecosystem, such as BitLayer, who are building a roll-up on Bitcoin. And I'm very interested. What is it?
We know them well.
Nice. They're very cool people, and they explain to me very interesting things about BitVM, which is a way to bring ZK on Bitcoin, and as well as OPCAT and new ways to verify ZK proofs on Bitcoin. So I'm excited for this. I learned, for example, that there's only 0.4% of Bitcoin that is locked into, financial system and financial apps. So most of Bitcoin is just used as a store of value. So I'm interested in the theory that, and if you take Ethereum, it's 24% of all ETH that is being locked, that is working for, for capital efficiency, whatever we want to call it. So there is signals that show that Bitcoin is way more used as digital gold, but not working towards like lending, borrowing, or financial system. And I'm really interested to see whether if it becomes possible to do roll-ups on Bitcoin. So real roll-ups have ZK proofs for compression and scalability. If we are able to do it, will then the percentage of Bitcoin that is being used for capital efficiency raise to like hundreds of billions. Like that would be fun for crypto as a whole. So I'm interested in the research in the Bitcoin area for Starks. And that's one thing. What else? I've been reading on Eigenlayer and Symbiotic. I think these are fun. They're very fun constructs. These kind of like paid pay-per-use middleware. They're really fun. And then lastly, I would say, I think there's a new piece of infra that's coming hot in 2025. So everyone should look for it, which is prover networks. So we've seen oracles, we've seen bridges, we've seen so many things, sequencers. Now we're going to see prover networks. Why? Because 2025 is going to be the tipping year where zero knowledge proof generation is going to become extremely cheap, and so much so that it's going to like breach this threshold that previously made it really annoying to adopt, and now is going to make it a no-brainer to adopt. So I claim that in 2025, zero knowledge proofs are going to be so cheap that it will be a no-brainer to add them to your toolbox of how to make your infra like future-proof and secure, as well as scalable. So what does it mean? It means that today there are millions of transactions being proven every month on zkSync, Starknet, Linea, Scroll. And in 2025, there's going to be billions of transactions being proven by adding optimistic rollups that will transition to ZK and other chains such as L1. And who is going to absorb all this demand for new proofs? Well, Kakarot, but also there's going to be proven networks such as, you've heard about them, like Succinct, ReZero, Givelot, Prover Network. There's a bunch, Zero Base. I cannot name them all. I think there's a bunch, and even among them, there's like sub networks such as Align Layer, Nebra, Hile, ZK Verify, Horizon Labs. There's so many, but at the end of the day, they have to use a software which is a provable EVM, and there's 4 or 5 of those, and Kakarot is one of them. So I'm excited to see this happen, and I really think it's going to be a new revolution for 2025.
Wow. These are the kind of insights that our listeners want to get. And everything from what excites you to where you're seeing the market trending to the future of zkSync, that's pretty insightful. And I love the way you break it down and sort of how you defend your thesis on it as well. Fingers crossed, we'll see how it plays out. I think I'm aligned with you there regardless. And I think Kakarot would be well positioned. I'm a huge fan of the BTC Fi space. So seeing the large unlock from staking Bitcoin, and so that it's not just the store of value, but other DeFi use cases would be really interesting to see. And of course, Eigenlayer and just generally the whole narrative around is in sort of like unlocking or exploring that economic value, I think will be some of the big themes in 2025. But yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing. We remain close to you guys, obviously looking forward to the production go live in December and cheering you guys on for sure. Happy to have you on the show today. We'll look forward to having you back to talk about post go live or post launch, I should say. And a lot of the innovations that you guys are looking and seeing in 2025 and beyond. Really, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I just have one question. At some point, I think in the last minute, you mentioned zkSync, but I'm not sure we don't have any liaison with zkSync.
Oh, I misspoke there. I meant ZK VMs.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for the invite, and this has been a lot of fun. So I hope to see you around in some event, and until then, I wish you to take care.
All right, likewise. Thank you very much. Take care. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, go ahead and give us a good 5-star rating and subscribe wherever you're getting your podcasts so you can get all the latest conversations from the most interesting founders, builders, and investors from across the world. Thanks so much, and have a good one.